Hey, it's Friday night. Um, and like last week, I was making way too many videos. I still haven't finished that track, by the way. And I decided to scale it way back. Part of the reason I was probably making two videos is I hadn't played at church in a couple of weeks, which means I didn't have anything to prepare for. When I don't have anything to prepare for, I uh, I get all these crazy ideas and do stuff. And I had this crazy idea where I was going to make a video every day for like a month. Um, and turns out they're not that interesting. They're okay. They're all right, but they're not really interesting. A couple of weeks is probably fine. So I took a break. I was going to make one Wednesday, but I was kind of busy with work and getting ready for church this Sunday, um, and some other things. So I skipped it because I didn't want to set all this stuff up just to shoot a video because I was working on some other stuff, um, and I had a set list coming up, and I wanted to make sure that was good because I hadn't played in a while. It's a little rusty, so I took a break. Uh, I'm for whatever it's worth, I'm a verified artist on Spotify now. So the track got accepted. So Mary, Did You Know, instrumental track that I wrote, and I didn't write, that I wrote, well, I guess I kind of did. I wrote the parts, kind of how they play together, but I recorded and mixed as best I could, and I wanted to see how good I could mix it, how far off I was from like good mixes on Spotify. And I was like, well, the only way to know that is to get it up there. So I got some artwork and I put like some silly text over the top because I wasn't even sure it was going to work. And it did. And it finally got posted. For my first song on Spotify, if I had to do it again, I would not do a cover song because there's licensing involved. If it's not like old enough to like get past that, I forget what it's called. But if it's a certain age, it's beyond the copyright things, and it's free game for anybody to do whatever they want with. Excuse me. If it's not one of those, it's kind of a pain. It's not hard. If you use DistroKid, I use DistroKid. They charge me a fee for the year, $25, whatever, as many songs as I want for the year. And they really handle everything. You upload a file and they walk you through the artwork and the title and the artist. And if it's a cover song, they handle the licensing for you. But it takes a while. It's like $12 a year. But it takes $12 a year to pay them their licenses, and then you get all the streaming proceeds, however many cents those are. And I wouldn't do it that way again. So it took 2 weeks to get through that, yada, yada, yada. And then just my tunes would have been up there in just a couple of days. And then I could have started to see everything. But it's pretty exciting for someone that's never been involved in anything like that before and really wants to be. It goes up there finally. They let you know it's up there. And then you can go into DistroKid and go into, I forget there's a path to get into like special accounts or whatever. And then you can set all your information up there, and then you get to your Spotify for Artists account, and you verify your email address, you fill in some information, and then they have stats for you, kind of like YouTube does. If you use like YouTube Studio, similar stats, tell you how many people are streaming it, yada, yada, yada. It's really cool. I didn't see anything like that for Apple Music, and it's on Amazon Music too. And I didn't go and look in Amazon Music to see if there's anything there. So it's really cool. I don't really care about streams. I think I said that before, but it'd be cool if you listen to it. Tell me what you think. But it's just cool to have it up there. And then like I created like a playlist and I titled it Me, and I put my one song in there. So I would have like quick access to it because I wasn't sure how it was going to be searching for my name, if I was going to get my profile or the artist. Like it was weird because it uses the same name, same email address and everything. Somehow they split that. So I had that set up. That was cool. And once I did the email address and everything, then I became a verified artist, and I get like a little blue badge and it says verified artist, which is cool. So I'm a verified artist. And then like the following day, they created like Scott Radcliffe Radio, and it had like my song as the first one, and then a playlist of a bunch of other songs like that song. I really liked them all. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. So it was a good example of mix sounds to go for, like a source mix, because a lot of them, mine's not far off, I don't think, as long as you gotta like put headphones on or something. Like if you listen to it through just an iPhone speaker, it's gonna sound like, you'll listen to it through an iPhone speaker. But there were they were deeper than mine. I don't know how they achieved that yet, but that was cool. They were those mixes were much deeper than my mix, and that was really awesome. So that's cool. I'll put the link in the description or whatever, if you want to check that out. It's really exciting. I'm excited for it, and I really want to put a bunch of stuff up there in 2024, like record a bunch of stuff, but make it good. So I'm gonna do a bunch of songwriting. I don't do lyrics. You probably know this already. It's just music. So if you sing and you want to put lyrics to something I've written, let me know. Or other instruments. I do guitar. I do bass. But a bass player would be really cool to do some cool stuff. I do keys, but a keyboard player would be really cool. So any instrument you play, even another guitar would be cool. Lay down your version. Your voice over a track would be really cool. And then I'll give you credit, and if you're not on Spotify, then you will be. If you are, then we'll both be linked in that same song. So that'll be awesome. I wanted to talk about something. There is a struggle if you play at a church or even any venue where they're like, you can't have your amp on the stage. It's got to be in the other room, and you got to use some sort of direct box, in-ears, headphone amp, everything. You get into I get into situations where unless you want to run from room to room, turning the amp, seeing if it sounds good, turning the amp, seeing if it sounds good, and then in your in-ears, you're like listening to it and you're like, oh, that's not what I thought I heard, so on and so forth. It's an endless battle. This is why I think a lot of guys go digital, because you have way more control. You can like reach down, your amp's right there, and you can turn on treble, you can EQ it, you can adjust gain, volume, whatever. And then the sound guy controls all that stuff anyway, but you get a good, pleasing sound to your ears to play with. And there's a way around that if you don't go digital and you're an amp guy like me. And disclaimer. This is the first time I've ever done like a gear on the desk type of thing. So it's probably going to be a mess. Like this stuff is probably going to fall off here, and you're going to hear cracks and pops as I'm trying to plug stuff in. Because I want to do two things here. The first one, I'm going to unplug this to show it to you. That's the first crack or pop you're going to hear. This guy right here is a secret weapon. Now, I had another one. I had another EQ pedal. I want that back on. Shoot. Okay. I had another EQ pedal. It was an MXR, I don't know, 9-band, 10-band EQ. It was noisy. It was always hissing, and and everything. And it was really cool because I had more control, but it was hissing. This guy, I don't know, $100, $80 on Sweetwater is perfect. So get this guy right here, this EQ pedal, put it on your board, and you basically have super control over your amp tone. Some tones after, but really your amp tone. So when you set your amp up, you're like, oh, I think this sounds good. You go out there and you're like, oh, it's too bright, it's too dark, yada yada yada. You can add or cut those frequencies here. The first thing to note, so I got this, I didn't get this tip from Joe Bonamassa, but I heard him say it, and I'm like, that is a great advice. I've seen a lot of Joe Bonamassa interviews, and he had an interview where he said every guitar player should get an EQ, but he named it like a ridiculous EQ. I forget how many bands it was, like a rack unit, right? And he says you should go through each frequency and turn it all the way up, turn it all the way down, see what it does. So you familiarize yourself with what each frequency does. So when you want to give your guitar tone something, you know where to go. So really quick, I don't know if you see that, maybe. So 100, down here is bass, 100, 200, right? I think that's Hertz. I think that's Hertz. Yeah, I think that's Hertz. So 100, 200, down here is your bass. As you get to maybe 400, but really 800 to 1.6, those are your mids. Like anything in there, that's where you're going to get your gain. So if you bring these up, you're going to get overdrive, right? Because it's going to push the tubes, and then these are your highs. So it's really, and then it has a level. So this thing can be used as just a boost. If you're all good and you're like, oh, I need a little bit of mids, and I need it loud. You can do something like that, and then when you kick this pedal, it's going to push those tubes if you don't want to go overdrive, and then give you a boost. Or you could put it in front of your overdrive and it's going to give you an additional boost. That's a secret weapon for sure. So I'm gonna show you how this works. I have a Supro Delta King 10 set really clean, and I'm gonna start dialing this thing up to kind of show you. And I hope I have enough chord to show you what I'm moving. My plan is, because I showed you what these were, 100 all the way up to 6.4, which is really bright. As I move these up, you'll be able to know like where in that frequency band I am without me like putting it right up in front of the phone. So let me plug it back in. Actually, let me try this one here. All right. Okay. This is what I mean about it falling off. It almost falls off every time. Okay. Clean tone. Super clean. A little bit of reverb. That's neck. That's bridge. So you get that dialed in and you're like, it's not enough gain. So here is the EQ pedal engaged. See the light on. Flat. Almost exactly the same, maybe a little darker. So the first thing you could do is come into the mid-range here, take a few of these up. So now, that's perceived volume because of the added mid-range. Off, on. You can boost it a little more, give it some mids. Clean tone over. So that's the first thing you can do. Bridge. Verses. So you already have a meatier, more overdriven tone that is still clean. But when you dig in, it starts to break up those tubes and give you a little bit. So that's one thing you can do. And if it's too dark, you can just take these. This is why it's really good to know what each band does. Because you can move one. So if I just take this one all the way up, I take the bass all the way up. It's all EQ. So, and sometimes I forget how awesome that EQ is, and I don't use it. So a good thing to do, if your amp's in the other room, set your amp up relatively clean. Our soundboard tends to add a little gain to it, so it's always a little darker than I expect. So I set it pretty clean, see what the board does to it, and see what I'm hearing in my ears after it comes from the mic, goes to the soundboard, comes back to me, hear what it sounds like, and then use the EQ to adjust things from there. Okay. Now I want to show what it does to an overdrive. So once you get that core tone and then you put an overdrive behind it, what that core tone does to that overdrive to give you a great tone. So now I gotta unplug some stuff. So there's gonna be some cracks and pops and stuff. And I'm just sorry. Before I do it, Nobles, best overdrive on the planet. Usually run a drive about 6. It's wonderful. Spectrum's about halfway, and Level to taste. Usually really close to halfway. All right. Man. Okay. I swear one of these is going to fall off here. Oh, gosh. Okay. Oh. There we go. Okay. Clean tone. So those are set up. I think I can move it over here. I'm going to drop my guitar. Okay. Here we go. Clean. Overdrive. Remember, for source, clean. Actually, I should probably a little bit. EQ. EQ, overdrive. No EQ. So that's it. So hopefully uh, that's the amp sound came through the iPhone speaker, and you heard what that EQ can do to your core tone and the overdrives after that tone, how it just gives it this deep, thick. I guess you got to be a lover of mid range like me, but this deep, thick, gritty, wide, thick, whatever adjective you want to use. Just a really, really great guitar tone. So, if your amp's in the other room, grab the 7-band Boss EQ. It's classic. Throw it on your board, and don't worry about how clean it is because you can adjust it at your feet. That's it. See you later.